Basically, I was asking you how long it was from the time you were in the back of a restaurant washing dishes to the time that you stepped on the field at a Club World Cup playing against the best footballers in the world.
Yeah, that was the time. It was probably, I guess, 4 or 5 months. What I was saying before, um, and and that's crazy when I look back. Like it doesn't make sense in my mind. Like even if you tell me and show me that, still doesn't make sense. But it was one of those things that um, it, time time shows you, or time helps you dimension those things.
Yeah, I don't think many people fully grasp that concept and the fact that is it true that you have the record for the most Club World Cup appearances, consecutive Club World Cup appearances?
I don't think it's consecutive. I think it's like the record per se, like the player with more,
Just in
like in
total, like
total.
you
Like I actually don't know exactly when the format of Club World Cup started. It might be like 2006, 2005, 2004, maybe. And out of those, I've been 8 times. So I mean
wow.
that's, I don't know, like what, 2/3 or maybe a little bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
pretty cool.
And when you go there, do they make a big deal out of it? Like, is it something that people are aware of when you go
And who by who?
at the Club World Cup? Like, I mean, you're basically a legend of the tournament. Like, do the guys there, the tournament, the journalists, the media,
No, well,
like, is it a story?
some of the media, yes, and some people that that football fans, every now and then they go, "Oh, December is coming," and Tade is probably already make preparing his bags to
He's
go,
got his hotel
like
room
Santa
there.
Claus. Santa Claus comes in December, then pretty much the same.
Here he comes
He
again.
comes again. Uh, but then other people that work probably there, I guess, every year you see different people, and also the fact that the Club World Cup every 2 years is in a different country, or sometimes they change every year. That doesn't help that to build connections. Otherwise, probably I will have I don't know, my coffee spot to go.
You have to buy a property there.
Yeah, or like to have like your local spots. But no, I didn't get to that point yet. At least not yet.
Yeah. And how many more you think you got in the tank? You're gonna get to double figures?
No, because the thing is, now in December, now in a month and a half, 2 months, is the Club World Cup in Saudi Arabia, and if I make that, that will be the ninth, and then this is the last one of this format.
Oh
Now the
wow.
Club World Cup will change, and it will be held every 4 years, pretty much like a World Cup. And the first one is in 2025, I think. And no, that's like waiting 2 years to go and play. No, that's too much. So probably this is the last one.
It actually works out well. Well, it works out well for you because it means that nobody will ever overtake your record.
Exactly. So at least something like a little plaque, something say,
Yeah.
eh,
Someone will have to play for like
yeah,
30 years to get. Yeah, they'll have to play for 30 years to get and hit the Club World Cup every
yeah,
4 years to get to your record.
yeah. But
That is
yeah,
brilliant.
it's pretty cool. When you think about it, it's actually pretty cool. I never thought about those things, but they're pretty cool. Like we had the inside joke with friends that yeah, they tease me around that, with that. But like I said, it's pretty cool.
Oh man, it's
Yeah.
a brilliant story. Yeah. Okay, stepping away from the Club World Cup, I want to start touching on how you eventually arrived in South Africa after obviously banging in hundreds of goals in New Zealand. There was there was some interest from South Africa. I'm interested to know how that happened. I mean, obviously we had a flurry of New Zealanders come into the league over that period of time. We had Brocky, we had Boxall, and then obviously you were the next New Zealander to, or at least someone from New Zealand to come into the South African league. I want to know how that happened.
Um, there's a story that probably not many people know. How I fallen in love with South Africa, but years before that, my time in Amazulu. It was 2014, October, September, something like that. And I got a call from an agent there in South Africa to go and do a trial. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm like happy to do that. I was in New Zealand, and that was a month before the Club World Cup in 2014, when with Auckland City we finished third, which is something like unthink of. And I got a call from this agent. They get me the flight. They got me the flights and everything. And I went to do a trial at Vasco da Gama in Cape Town. You know this story because we talked a lot about that, and we spent a lot of time together. But so yeah, so I went over. I did a trial for like a week with Vasco da Gama, and the last day of the trialing, they organized a friendly against Ajax. Ajax. Who's the club that you play for, but under different name. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
funny though. Huh? Life is funny, and
yeah. Yeah, full
yeah,
circle.
exactly. And I've fallen in love with Cape Town, with South Africa, with the people, with the languages, all the different languages, the history and stuff, and I've fallen in love with everything that comes from South Africa. I don't know, for some reason or another that didn't happen. And uh, and then I went back to New Zealand, and then that's it. Like boom, everything was forgotten about pretty much from a football point of view. But in my mind was South Africa is one of those countries that one day I would love to either visit again or go and live and play. If it's to play football, then that's even better. But and then years later, I got my who became an agent at that time, Francesco, contacted me and it was like, "Oh, do you want to come to South Africa?" And I said, "Yes, I already packed. Like I'm already packed. Like I don't care where. I just want to go." And that's when they talked to me about Amazulu, and everything felt right. And pretty much within 2 3 months, I was there.
Yeah, so that's the Amazulu chapter of your career. That's obviously where we shared a dressing room together and had obviously some great memories. I want to ask you about one game in particular that your recollection of it, a game in Toyando against Black
Oof.
Leopards.
I always tell those stories. That's probably one of my
Was that the toughest conditions that you've ever
yes,
played in?
yes, the toughest by far. Look, in my city where I'm from in Argentina, in summer it gets
Yeah.
to 50 degrees. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. Nothing. It gets to 50 degrees, so I know what's hot, like hate hot. You don't even see the color green. That's why I love you. That's why I'm wearing green now. Like, you don't see that. You don't see it. It doesn't rain. Like you don't know what water is. Like nothing. Like I know that. It's where I'm coming from. But there's something in my city that says from because like the in from an economic point of view, everything shuts down at 1 o'clock, 1:30. 2 o'clock max.
Yeah.
And then everything opens up again, like later on in the afternoon, like 5 o'clock. So that time is not for humans. That period of time in between. That's when everyone goes to the house, and then aliens, who knows what happens in there, like it's a black hole. It should be like a black hole. Now we played with Amazulu, we played in Toindo, and everyone was talking to me about, oh, it's really hot, but I have no problem with that because where I'm coming from. But the game was starting. What was it? 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock?
Yeah, 3 o'clock
It's not
kickoff.
for humans. That's not for humans. And I remembered, and this is me complaining a little bit, not to not to the weather or to the club or whatever. That's a little bit that I think the federation or the league should take a little responsibility on that, because every now and then in my city, you hear people are overheated, they pass away, they die in the middle of the pitch, and I'm not joking. That's not. It's actually that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
conditions are not good to play.
Suitable
Yeah, to
for,
play
yeah,
a high performance football. It doesn't make sense, right? And
yeah.
it will be. I hope it doesn't, but it will be until one day actually happens that then everyone will go, oh, maybe it's not like good. But anyway, on top of that, we're there.
Do you remember the warm up? Do you remember what happened in the warm
I
up?
wanted to go home
Uh,
already.
Tapelo, Tapelo, who's obviously now the captain at Orlando
Yeah.
Pirates, um, he sat down in the middle of the warm up. Do you remember?
Yes.
And he said
You can't do.
he sat down in the warm up and he said it's too hot. He can't handle the heat.
Oh,
And I was thinking, sure, if he can't handle it, then we got no chance.
but bro, I was like, what the hell is going on in here? Anyway, mm, sweat. We were like wet. It was just like a bucket of water every 2 minutes. And we started playing. And what was it? First half, someone got subbed because of injury. I think, who was it? I don't remember, but I think we got a sub. Someone got subbed in like the first half. I don't know. And and then and then we were 1-0 down. Then we equalized it. And then it was like 30 minutes to go yet. And I'm already thinking, I can't run anymore. I can't run anymore. This is not normal. Like, it's not normal. Then suddenly, someone gets subbed. I think it was Shusi. Shoes gets up, maybe, or I don't know. I'm a bit blurry. Uh, and and then I'm thinking, okay, next sub, last sub, I'm gonna ask to be subbed. Like, I'm already think I can't run anymore. Suddenly, I think you got subbed. Did you?
No, I think I survived that whole
So
game.
who got?
I don't know
Who was
how,
the
but I
last one?
survived.
I was already thinking about us to be subbed. I couldn't. I literally couldn't run anymore. And I think someone got subbed, and I'm like, because it went down, and I think got cramps, or I don't know, got an eagle or something. Or maybe no, maybe they just wanted to, or maybe wanted to come. I don't know. And then I thought, what
Wanted to
the
leave the field.
hell? There's no more subs now. And suddenly,
Yeah,
and suddenly I feel all this like shivering, and I started to feel cold, and I was cold, and I thought, oh, those documentaries that happen like in the top of the Everest and in one of those mountains, whatever, where the conditions are pretty hard, like, but on the other side, on the other spectrum, that is really cold, and people started to feel hot, and then they pretty much it's when they die. Oh,
that's
this is
the
the other
last.
way around.
It's the last.
It's really hot. I'm feeling cold. I'm gonna die here. That it went into my head, and I'm like, I'm gonna die here. While the game kept playing, and then suddenly, magical. There was the sun started to get down a little bit, and then there was a little bit of shade
Yeah, just over the one
on
on
the
the left
yeah
hand
by
side
the
of the field.
bench. And I remember moving into that, and Kevin, the coach asked, "See, Emmy, just come stand here, stand here, my son." And I'm like, "Yes, thank you." Oh, but hey, great experience, and also we got the result.
Yeah, that's my only memory from that game is the last 30 minutes just playing with you on the left hand side in that little patch of
Oh,
shade down the left hand side.
and it was, and then, well, at the end of the day, we drew that. It was, yeah, we drew that game. or no?
I
Or we
don't know. I can't
lost?
even
No.
remember the result. All I remember is,
Oof.
is how I felt after the game.
Oof. That was, yeah. And yeah, that's probably one of the crazy stories. But I loved
Yeah.
it though, you know?
Okay. Yeah. No, we had some fun times at Amazulu. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, obviously, it might have been your first exposure to muti in South Africa at Amazulu.
Yes. First.
We had some interesting traditions and some interesting things that went on at Amazulu. Do you have any memories of things of some interesting things that we did at Amazulu
Yeah, all of them.
with regards to
All of
muti?
them. I absolutely love it. I I I, I love that. In Argentina, we do have a little bit about multi, maybe not to that extent or not to that level. But we do have that. You know, in football, like in general, you do have maybe not to that extent. I remember,
Yeah,
I remember a few when being in the change room, and then we went to warm up, and on the way back, when we went back, it was like it was fire inside, like smoke. I couldn't even breathe. And
yeah, yeah.
Shoba. It was in charge of that. Shoba,
Our kid man,
okay,
yeah,
man. Shoba
yeah.
was like on fire. You know, he was like, you know, the game on,
What's
the game
happening?
on, man, game on. And I'm just like, Shoba. Ah, my eyes are itchy, and my mouth get dried, and I'm like, can't even breathe, man. And then, yeah, um, but I really enjoy it. I really enjoy. I try a few of those. Uh,
Did you used to go for the car wash in
I've
the
done it
change room?
once. I've done it once. Like I was
Okay.
actually really curious. Like I've done it once. Showa will come to me before the game and will spread some water on me or put me or on my boots or would do something on my shirt or my playing shirt and like he would do something and I know and I knew about that because he asked me whether I want to participate or be part of that, which I really wanted and maybe to a certain extent then the rest it's maybe people are used to it in a different way uh but I try yeah I did the bucket and I try a few more of those things and I fucking love it bro. I loved it and see the show when we're going into the pitch and Shoba goes end to each goal and do something there next to the post like it was pretty fun. Like I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing about why you settled so well in South Africa is that I think for guys coming in, it's hard to understand the culture and embrace it so quickly. Um, there's obviously a lot of interesting things that if you're not from here or you have no experience in South Africa, a lot of the things will open your eyes and you sort of I think some guys struggle to adjust to that sort of thing. So
Yeah, and it,
yeah, I'm with you in that kind of things. Like that, like it's like incredible experiences, and it's just a exposure to different cultures and stuff. And if you don't embrace it, then you will suffer. But if you embrace it, I think man, it can open your eyes
in
and
many ways.
makes for great story, makes for great stories down the line.
Yes, yes, totally. And I think this is a conversation that we always had about it, which is Argentina and South Africa. I don't see there's any difference. We always talked about it.
Yeah,
That I felt at home from the first day. The way people socialize, the way people talk, the things of or the content of the conversations and everything. I felt at home. I felt like I was in Argentina from the first day. The bride, we love meat as well, and everything is
yeah,
around
yeah,
food. Everything is around food in Argentina as well. So that all of these components of or parts of the culture made me feel at home, and probably that's why uh, I put a lot from me, but also I really enjoy the coaches, like the singing. I loved it. Mabuti. Now is the coach of Golden Hour. If hey went across the road, it went
yeah.
across the road. Mabuti, and it was a show, man. I loved it, man. I loved it. I loved it, bro.
Yeah, when they used to give him the microphone and he used to get us going before the game. No, those are some of my best
Have it.
experiences with
Ooh,
Amazulu.
I love.
Yeah, bro, it was so cool.
I I absolutely love that. I remember practicing. Do you remember us practicing the songs when you were teaching me the songs?
Yeah,
I remember the hotel. We used to be roommates and practicing the songs. I like eh, those are memories that I keep really close to my heart. Like
yeah.
everything around the
And I
culture.
don't think I don't know. You don't give yourself enough credit because there's a lot of guys like even though you say the South American cultures can be quite similar, I think a lot of other South Americans have come in and struggled, but you were willing to delve into the culture. I think that's the one thing makes you so easy to like you fit it into many different cultures very easily. And obviously the Amazulu fans really embraced you. I mean, you're only there for 6 months, but they gave you a nickname as well. What is it in Katazo?
Catastrophe, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Which is
I mean,
it suit, yeah,
once you get a nickname from the fans, it means like you've done well and they've embraced you. So yeah, that's always nice,
yeah.
man. It's
I remember
you fit it in
one of the
really
first
quickly.
games that when I came out. I think it was 80th minute or something. It was one of my first game, and I got subbed, and then I hear the whole stadium going like, "Oh no!" And I thought they were booing at me. And I remember Kevin came to me and said, "Don't worry, my son, they're not booing you." He actually like offered that comment. I didn't ask what was happening, but probably he saw my expression
Yeah,
like, "What is going on?" And he went, "Don't worry, my son, they're not booing you. They say no Mlungu. They like you. They like you." And I said, oh, "Okay,
yeah,
okay, okay." It's probably one of the first games. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
yeah. So now, not even 3 4 months into your time at Amazulu, you've obviously done very well. You've scored what 7 8 goals in the first round. And you obviously start to get a lot of interest from other teams, and the whispers start that Sundowns are interested. I think you won 2 Player of the Month back to back. Is that right?
No, one of them.
November,
Only
December.
one of them.
One. I thought it was two.
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously there were a lot of clubs interested. So a question that I've always been interested to know is at what point did Sundowns contact you about with their interest to say that they were keen to bring you across?
To me directly, it was mid January. To my agent, Francesco, it was in between Christmas and New Year's, I think. Or he got like the interest and or he was being approached. But and I remember that I never care about those things and I said to Francesco, I'm in Argentina right now. Like I'm on holiday. It's been a hell of a season. Um, at Amazulu, it was an unbelievable time. Really happy time. Those 6 months. But we went through a really difficult patch when we got deducted some points, and we saw ourselves and like in shit. We were like, uh,
Yeah.
we were in a really deep hole, and because we got deducted at some points, we were like minus something, and and I think the character of the team at that time that pulled together the team and the club and everyone, the group. Then it was enjoyable, but people probably don't know how hard it was for us to collect some points at the beginning of the season and then suddenly go deducted everything. It's like you've been robbed. You know, you feel like, oh, everything that I've done, it's gone now. It doesn't matter. And then it was like
Yeah.
came back from that. It was, and we went on like a winning strike and stuff. And then yes, everything was like happy times. But we had that period of like where we struggled with what happened. And I don't know why I was saying that, but and I remember I was in Argentina.
You
Oh
just
yes, I
figured
was in
how.
Argentina on
Yeah.
holidays, and I was like, Francesco, I had a really tough um, season. I need to race. I don't care whether it's any club approaching or interested or whatever. If there's there's nothing absolutely concrete that you need from me, I don't want to know even about rumors. Like, I have no social media. I barely really read the news, and I was like, I was in my happy place. I was like, I didn't hear anything. There were no rumors. There were no social media, nothing going around. I was just in Argentina with my family. Simple. And so then that's why probably I didn't even know what was going on. And it was probably around mid-January when things were starting to get hot, when I was personally contacted. But before that, I have no idea, or not that I'm aware.
Yeah. And now I know that I mean, you out of all footballers I've probably ever met in my career, are probably the person that is least concerned with financial gain and how much money you earn and how much money Sundowns would pay for you. So, knowing that money was not the driving factor, what was it about moving to Sundowns? Like, why was it Sundowns? Because there were a lot of other interested clubs as well.
Yes, there were other clubs interested, but probably they didn't get that far either. Um, and the main reason was, I guess, if you ask any football player in South Africa, at some point you want to play for the big three clubs in South Africa at some point, you know and and at that time, Sundowns was the biggest club, if not one of the biggest in Africa as well, and still one of the biggest clubs in Africa, uh, due to all the success and the tournaments and everything that they have achieved in the last few years. It's kind of like the Manchester City of South Africa, Um,
Yeah,
and I knew about Sundowns because years before, we played in the same club World Cup. We didn't get to play against each other, but you already know the name resonates with you, um, and then you put everything on the table, and it's a big club. It's got like a really cool, good facilities to train where you can actually perform. It's got a lot of fans, and it's playing then the Champions League. That means traveling around Africa, and 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 everything that comes with that. So, um, but but then on the other side, it was quite tough, emotionally, I guess, to take the decision.
yeah. I remember the conversations we had in the hotel room when Sundowns came knocking, and
Yeah, even before,
I remember
that,
it was tough.
do you remember? Like, it was 10 days before that happened. We had again other conversations about it, and but yeah, it happened.
But you went there, and I mean, you won the league that year.
Yes, yes. Um,
Yeah, you got a league. Yeah, you won the league.
PSL.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, you walked away with the PSL medal. So I mean, it turned out pretty well in the beginning. But then obviously the following season, yeah, I mean, I remember you struggled with injuries and stuff. But then obviously, yeah, it was tougher. How would you describe that second season at Sundowns?
Um, the first part, or the first season, or the first half, when we won the PSL, it was pretty much there to adapt myself to, playing every 2 3 days. Whether you play or not, it's hard because, if you play, then you get fit. If you don't play, you don't get that much fitness. It's tough to keep up. And it was like, oh, I remember having a conversation with Peter at that time, and he was like, "Don't even worry about this part of the season. This is for you to adapt, to learn about the club and stuff." And I was like, "Okay, well, that resonated in my mind." We went far on the Champions League as well, so it was quite like it was quite an intense year. Like, if I think about the whole year round, It was a really intense, starting from Amazulu and everything, and then how things ended in, and then the PSL. And then coming to the new year, um, I was already 31 or 32 by that time. Yeah, just turned 32 or 30. Yeah, 32, I think. Um, and I remember being in Argentina and training and doing some training for myself, and because I really wanted to fit in, I really wanted to demonstrate, I really wanted to, be part of the winning team. And then we were on preseason, and and that when you are sharp, when you fit, when you are there on the zone, that. And I felt like that, and we play a friendly. I did really well, or I think I did really well, whatever. And then 2 days later, I got injured. I twisted my ankle like quite badly, and that put me off. I think that put me off, and I rushed to get back, and which I did. But then your body, at the end of the day, it takes a toll. It at some point, if you rush things, they will come back, and that's what happened. Then I got a twist on my knee, which was pretty hard. I think I was out for like a month and a half, and then I could see I was training apart from the team, and I could feel already, okay, it's getting there, the sharpness, the fitness, the mental part. And I got back to training, and on the first day of training with the team back, it was a very unfortunate situation. I tried to block a pass, and it got me like on the tip of the top, and then again. So everything that was done, I, I, I moved 2 steps forward, and I went back another five, and I was like, oof. And that was demoralizing in many ways. So then I went back, and then 2 months later, uh, that took me 2 months at that time to get back. It was again. So then I kept carrying these injuries, and I thought, look, it's not fair. I'm not enjoying it. I I I just don't enjoy being at a place where I'm not giving back what I receive. And that happens years ago when I was in Argentina as well. And when that's the case, I have no problem with stepping up. And it took me a month to took me a yeah around a month to take that decision, and look, as you said, like I resignated another 2 or 3 years in the contract and everything. But yeah, I had another 2 years in the contract, 2 or 3. um, and and I think it was time. It was the right decision at that time, and that's what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to explain to a lot of people. I don't think they realize, like, obviously the conversation you had to go in and say you were looking to get out of your contract, and you were looking to go back to New Zealand. Um, would you have a ballpark or an idea of how much money you left on the table at Sundowns? Like,
Oh, if I do the maths, yes. But I think the way we started the podcast today, it's probably the best way to explain. And I think I go to a point where lifestyle, uh, my lifestyle, or what I think in life, or my philosophy in life, um, inner peace is probably one of the main things. or the things that I care the most. And at that time I didn't have that because I wasn't giving back what I received. I was in a place where they need players to be at a certain level, and I wasn't able to. Like I carry all these injuries for months and months and months, and then it wasn't that. It was like one big injury, the one I had, for example, in New Zealand. That was like I ruptured the ACL. Okay, well that's really unfortunate. It's just one injury that then you carry for, like, the story, 9-10 months. That's it. This one was like I had one,
Yeah,
came back, boom, another one, came back, boom, another one, came back. That it didn't make sense.
yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah,
and and it was I think it was at that time, and still think that it was the right decision for the way I live, or I want to live my life. And I decided to look after myself and have inner peace at the end of the day on the decisions that I made.
yeah. No, that's all. I mean, I wanted to highlight that because I don't think there are a lot of human beings that I know that would look at that situation and think that uh, they would prioritize their happiness. I think a lot of footballers follow, obviously, just walk after the money, and they think that they can maybe sit it out, and they'll rather just sit out the contract and maybe be unhappy and for 2-3 years, and but at least financially stable. But you chose your happiness and your mental well being, and there's something that I've always found incredible about the way you handle situations. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, it was. I just want to know, what was that conversation like when you went to the club and said, "Look, that's it. You're gonna walk away." How was it received? Who did you speak to?
Um,
Who were the guys at Sundowns?
so the other part was, like in South Africa, I was by myself. I didn't have my family, and I didn't have no one around. Like, yes, you have the people in the team, uh, but no one to turn up to, uh, to speak about, which is like your daily stuff, like how you're feeling and how you're coping. I remember going to the club injured, go back from the club home, and then what? Like, you go around and you look everywhere, and then there's no one, and 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 that part was, I had no much of a problem with that. It was the fact that, um it was tough to go through all that process. Let's put it that way. And knowing that, to me, or the way I see things, is you have to give a little bit more than your 100%, and I wasn't able to. So it took me a while to take the decision, and I remember I called Pizzo, um, and asked him, if I could have a chat with him. And he was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, he didn't know what was going on or what was happening, and it was like the first days of December, and he invited me to his house. I went there, and he thought, at that point, he thought, I wanted to ask for a transfer or to go on loan on somewhere else, and because at the same time, when I could probably be on the team, I wasn't able to play because I wasn't, like, probably fit or whatever. And at the same time, because my teammates, we were winning every single game and we were doing well. So then there's no space there. And he approached the conversation like that, and I said, no, um, I want to go home. Uh, and that's um when when things, I think, got me. And I remember I burst into tears in front of him, and explained why and what was happening, and the reasons why. And and he understood. He understood in that moment. In 5 minutes, he made my life easy. uh he understood me, and he was like, okay, well, I'll speak to the club, and then you speak to them as well, and then yeah, then it's all about getting into doing the legal part of the things
Yeah.
and stuff, and and then that's it.
The other thing obviously got to highlight is the fact that, I mean, I can't remember the exact figure, but it was between 8 and 12 million at the club that they paid for you to get you in January.
I think so. I'm actually no fully
Yeah.
aware.
I don't know. I don't know. I just remember it being reported it was somewhere in that region. So I'm just like, would have taken a special club, and I don't know if that's down to Patrice because,
I think so. Yeah, one hundred
I think
percent.
there's
At the
very
end of the day, he's
yeah,
he,
there's very few people in South African football that would be able to purchase a guy in January for 10 to 12 million, and then 6 months later let him essentially walk out of his contract. So I think Patrice is. I mean, yeah, the things he's done for South African football. I mean, he's obviously on top of that. He must be a good human being as well.
yes, um and the people at the club really put everything on from themselves. Started with Pizzo, then Yogesh was someone that I had like contact with at the club, and obviously Patrice. And there's two things probably the way I see it, and one is that yes, like paying that much money for a player and then to let them walk away from their contract is one part. And then on the same thing, you go, yeah. At the end of the day, it's business. They made an investment and it didn't work out, and that happens to probably a lot of us in life. We made an investment, it didn't work out, and sometimes you make an investment that you didn't think it was going to work out, and then poof, it's a gold mine. It can happen either way. uh or there are other times where you buy a player and you haven't seen it on, as you say, on the contract for like 3 years, just milking it, and then that's not. But then um, we're not judging that. It was like, oh yeah, it's finished his contract, but nobody knows that in that time that player, for example, was milking the club for like 3 years. Well, so at the end of the day, I go, maybe yes, it was a bad investment, but maybe I didn't make him lose the match, or I don't know. At the end of the day, I always go, first, we are humans. Second, we are football players, president of the club, whatever it might be. And at a human level, they understood, and they supported me on the decision, and that's what I take with me. At a business level, of course, very simple, clear to everyone. Uh, but then at a human level is what I took with me, um, from the day I stopped playing at the club.
Yeah. So explain what clause they put in the contract when you left. They obviously want to protect themselves
Yeah,
from the chance that you jump to an opposition club, that you were just trying to walk out of the contract that I think that some players have obviously done in the past, and then end up signing for Orlando Pirates or Kaiser Chiefs or
yeah.
something. They obviously have to protect themselves. And so explain to me how they sort of manage that
Oh,
situation.
that I don't take anything with me. Anything on the remaining contract and stuff, which it was fair, and I wasn't planning to even ask for anything at that point either.
Yeah.
Um, and the other part was not playing for an African team in the near future, and it was which was the remaining part of my contract. And I mean, I study law like in the past or whatever, but you don't need to study anything in that to actually realize that that's very fair, and that is what needed to be done. Like, I mean, Like I didn't even think about it. To me, it was like it. It sounds not right. It sounds
Yeah, of course.
the way that has to be done, and I think that's it. Like and
Oh, so it was no that you weren't allowed to play for another African club. I thought it was that you couldn't sign another professional
oh
contract.
yes, oh yeah, and especially a an African club, because at the end of the day, a year
Okay.
later, you could go and play for a professional club in whatever Dubai, and then
Yeah.
and I found it fair. And if that would have happened, they had to pay what they pay for me, which is fair, you know. Like, and I had no problem with that. Like, it was the most peaceful, fast, quick agreement. It was easier
Yeah.
to come to that agreement than when I signed for Sundowns. And you go, how is that possible? You know, and I had no objections. I have no negative thoughts or anything towards that. It was peaceful, and it was what we both parties thought was right, and I still believe that
Yeah.
it was the right decision, not only from the club but also from me.
Yeah. So am I getting it right when I say that New Zealand is not classified as a full on professional? So you signing for Auckland City down the
It's
line,
an amateur. It's co-
that's
it's
like
considered
it's
amateur league.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I know. I
yeah, that's
know.
crazy. Yeah,
Uh, I know. Yes, we play the Club World Cup, but the league itself and the club, it's considered amateur. So, and I remember that time. And that's the funny part, Like months later, I think I went back to New Zealand, and then I played again after 3 or 4 months. After I left Sundowns, I played for Auckland City, and and but then in the meanwhile, I had time to heal. I had time to go back home and be with my family, and my sisters. Both of them had a kid by that time, so then I went back to New Zealand, and I've been treated by the physio that knew my body and my whole history or injury history and stuff for like almost 7 years at that time, and it was pretty much doing a very slow healing, and then having all the people around me and stuff, and that probably helped. And yes, it was tough, and then COVID hit. It was like it was around that time. um so it wasn't that. I remember this is something that I read, or someone sent it to me, or I don't know. People saying, "Oh, he left this and did this, and then went back to play in New Zealand just because he wanted to play." And it's actually no. Uh, People probably don't know that in South Africa I was fully professional, and here I had to work. It's not that I went back here and I was like, "Oh, well, here we go, Auckland City again." No, here you had to work, you know. So, but it was what was happening off the pitch that probably made at that time my life easier.
yeah. So obviously you worked with Pizza for a while, and I mean, someone that's held in very high regard in South Africa has obviously achieved quite. I mean, he's achieved a lot in the South African game, and obviously now gone out of the borders and done pretty well in the Middle East as well. What did you make of him as a coach?
Um, so I think he knew how to manage the changing room. Uh, and at that level, or even like a lot higher, it comes down to people's management, rather than the coaching part of this or that. There were a lot of things that I didn't agree with, of course, but but that doesn't mean that he was good or bad. That means that everyone's got a different opinion in life, and you can either agree or disagree. There were a lot of things that I disagree with, and there were a lot of things that I agreed with. And if there's something that probably comes down to him was, managing the changing room. And but then at the end of the day you go, okay, but he also had the best players in South Africa. So I go, okay, well, does it actually come down to management or the coaching power, the tactical, or is because you have the best players in the league? And those things, as the what if that, we can go on for hours and hours and stuff. But overall, I do think he managed the change room, which is probably the hardest part. Having all like big players playing together in the same changing room, and we all know that it's probably one of the hardest things.
Yeah, I do think the one thing with him is he's obviously a very big personality, and I think at Sundowns you do need a coach with a big personality because you have a lot of big personalities in
Uh-huh.
that club. So unless you can carry that weight and have demand that respect from the group, I think it is tough to manage a club like that. But obviously he got that right, and he's sort of been the basis of what they've gone on to build on. So yeah, whatever guys say about him, he's obviously set that club up for success that they obviously reaping at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then that
Um,
but then you go,
same,
you can see
yeah,
he stepped away from the team, and then who was at that time the assistant coach took the team and won everything by the same amount of points, and now they're still doing that. So then that's where the question comes, that's where the questions comes, and you can start asking or thinking about having your own different opinions and stuff. But you know,
yeah. Okay, I don't want to take too much of your time, Amy. So I get into a couple quick fire ones before I let you go. Um, so it's 10 quick fire. You can answer them as quickly as you like, or you can delve into it. Let's see how we get on. Um, I think this is an easy one for most Argentinians to answer. Who was your childhood football hero? Unless you're going to surprise me.
childhood.
Yes, growing up as a kid, who
Diego
was your
Armando Maradona.
yeah?
We
Okay,
shouldn't be
cool.
allowed. We shouldn't
And
be
I'm guessing
allowed
the
as an
next generation.
Argentinian. We shouldn't be allowed to answer that. So maybe that's
Yeah, well, the next generation
I,
will have the next generation will have an automatic answer as well.
yes,
So
yes. At my time, yes, Diego Armando Maradona. But then I could not give the obvious and then say Riquelme was Juan Roman Riquelme was really up there.
yeah, he's my favorite Argentinian footballer of all time. Maybe not because of what he achieved, but just he was my favorite midfielder to watch by far.
A lot of Boca Juniors supporters will like it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's the most memorable goal you've ever scored?
2014 Champions League final. We were struggling at home, 1-1, 2 minutes before the game, before the end of the game. I scored the winner. It wasn't the most beautiful goal or anything. It was from outside the box, whatever, one touch, that's it. Put it in the back of the net, and that's probably the most memorable one.
Yeah. Who was the best footballer you played with in South Africa? And you obviously can't say me.
So I can't say Michael Morton. Yeah. Um,
So you obviously can only choose, but you
it,
only got
so
Amazulu and Sundowns to choose from.
yes, it's an easy one as well. Again, Temba Swane, Mshishi,
Yeah,
class,
yeah,
bro. Ah, I used to
yeah,
hate him at training. When you go press him and he passed the ball first touch, poof. Or then sometimes he would take a touch and then he looks really casual and slow, and then suddenly, boom, you're gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
Shishi.
No, no.
It was,
I'm
it was
busy doing
Shishi was
yeah.
my first roommate for Sundowns on my debut. It was my roommate. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Okay.
but anyway, yes, Shishi.
No, world class. Okay, hardest defender to play against in South Africa. Who was the toughest defender first? Anyone come to mind?
Um, oh, I don't know names. Um,
Describe him, and maybe we can
I don't
come to
know the
the.
name, but from Super Sport, I remember. But again, I don't know the names. Like I don't remember everything. I'm
But
bad.
Supersport is a type of game that I can imagine you not enjoying, Emmy, because not too much of the balls ever on the ground, and
We lost that game as well.
yeah, we never enjoyed playing against
Yeah.
Supersport. That was never our type of game.
So,
We were never, yeah, that direct, uh, up and fight and stuff. That was never Amazulu's
oh
game.
no, yeah. So from Super Sport, I don't remember like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
right centre back and the right back.
yeah. Okay, outside of South Africa, the toughest opponent you played against, Club World Cup or anywhere else?
Um, the Japanese, the Japanese team, Antlers, and that we play against them in the Club World Cup in 27, no, 20. Oof, I don't remember. Yeah, oof, 2016, I think it was. Yeah, Kashima Antlers.
Okay, and what just I heard like Japanese are like
Oh,
notorious for being extremely fit and organized,
but
and yeah,
they were flying. They were literally flying. I have never seen people doing this coordinated movement, running sprints in behind, on the space, on the sidelines, on the flanks. Everything. It was like woof, 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 like I was watching Formula One in live, pretty much. Yes, yes, no, yeah. Um,
okay, cool.
where was that? Was that in Toyota?
We're we're in Polokwane
Oh,
at the
Polo One.
Ron.
Yes, yeah,
I forget. Oh man, I don't know how I could forget, but yeah, I thought I was dying.
yeah. Oh my god! Like it was in the yeah, in the middle of the night. You were
I can't believe they played me the next day.
yes, but you were gone in,
You remember? Like I went to the hospital at like 12 at night. I only got back to the room at like 4 in the morning.
and I didn't even know. Do you remember? I fall asleep, and then next day you went. Oh,
You woke up in the morning.
I
You're
was
like, "Hey, what are you doing
I
here?"
was in the
Yeah.
hospital last night. I was like, "What are you talking about, Mikey?"
It was the first time I got kidney stones, and I thought I was gonna die. Like I didn't know what it was. Like I'd never experienced that pain before, and I was like, "This is not normal." I thought like my organs were exploding or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Those
Jesus.
are the things that
And,
people need to know. You know,
yeah.
those are the things that people need to know. Who cares about football? Sometimes, you know, those are the good stories. But you were
Oh,
suffering, man.
mate, the next day I was finished. Like I couldn't. Oh man, I don't know how I got through 90 minutes the next day. Like
Yeah.
I literally didn't sleep at all. Like I literally experienced the equivalent of childbirth, and then then they just like, okay, Mike, you're ready to go.
Yeah. Oof, I felt like that now that I needed to go to toilet. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, bro. Last few. Um, so I know we both feel very strongly about this. What's your feelings on football clubs not allowing players to eat desserts the night before games?
What? Is that a thing now?
Don't you remember at Amazulu, like they always used to take the desserts away?
Really? I but no one else there. Maybe it happens after. No,
I don't know.
Malva pudding was my thing to do and to go for.
Yeah.
No, it was after I left. I remember at Sundowns,
Okay.
I turned up at Sundowns. First night, no dessert, no Malva pudding. I was like, no wonder why I got
That's the
injured.
story I
No wonder
remember.
why I got injured. You know, there was no Malva pudding there, bro. Now I can see it.
Yeah.
What
That's the story I was trying to recall. Is that there was something about desserts at Emmy that
oof.
when you got to Sundowns, they wouldn't allow you to
Oh,
eat
they were
desserts.
desserts, but they were not like malva pudding, They were like, fruits and yogurt and
Fruit salad.
fruits. No, but that's like I need dessert, man. Like wow, I remember like going for the malva pudding was like if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to perform the next day. And when I put the
Yeah.
custard and it was like crunchy, oof, next level, bro. Wow.
But it's always like that's the one thing that's always fascinated me about like, and I don't know if it's just in South Africa, but it's like then they say you can't eat dessert, and then but you know for a fact that in the players' bags it's just like
Okay. Yeah.
sweets and chips
We
and
didn't take
everything.
that.
Like you're restricting you from eating
We
dessert.
didn't take things into the room. We
No,
No, we didn't have.
yeah, at Amazulu we made sure.
We had brownies one day. That was the only time that we
Yeah,
took
yeah,
brownies.
very good brownie.
Yeah, that was when we played Golden Arrows at home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was the only
very
time.
good brownie.
But then we never had anything else.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Amy, I think that's it, bro. I don't want to keep you for too long. I think we've been on for like an hour and a half,
We
man.
can go for hours, bro.
Yeah, bro. No, there's too many good stories. Thank you for taking the time, brother.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. It's pretty cool that every now and then, that as a football player, well, I guess that helps for like everyone in life. That every now and then you go through something like this that helps you dimension what you've done in life, regardless of what you've done. Whether you play football, whether you are an accountant, whether you're a lawyer. Like it's pretty cool to go every now and then do this as an exercise, and it helps you.
Yeah, like a recap. Like talk about. Yeah, you forget all these things, man. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it is important to bring back these memories and to realize how far you've come.
yeah, like the people that help you along the way, the people that were with you along the way. If I think about like a few years back, you were doing a lot of different things that you were doing now, let alone having twins. Like I mean,
Yeah,
when you think that, I think it's a cool exercise for everyone to go and do every now and then. And
yeah. The other record I think you hold, and I don't think many people know this, is that I think you're the only professional footballer in the world who offers couch surfing.
oh, couch surfing.
That while you were playing at
Yes.
Amazulu,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, that you used to have you used to have your couch
yeah,
available for random
it wasn't a
people
couch. It was
to rent your
so.
couch. It's an
That's
app.
a funny story about that because couch surfing. I don't know if people know what it is. It's pretty much
Yeah,
is
yeah. Explain what couch surfing is.
pretty much you offer a place for someone that you don't know at all for free to sleep in your house. Pretty much sort of like Airbnb, but without the payment. And
Yeah, I don't think it's too common in South Africa, to
no.
be honest.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe for the South Africans that go overseas, yes, that travel abroad. But
Yes.
so how it works
Yeah.
is an app. Whatever, someone contacts you to say, "Hey, look, can I stay in your house for like 2 3 days?" And then you check their profile, see that it's legitimate, and whatever, and then you offer them like a place to stay, and you tell them, oh, look, I have a bed, or I have a room, or I just have a couch. And at that time I had Kevin's, the coach Kevin's air mattress. It was an
Yeah,
air
it's with the
mattress.
mattress. I remember
Yes,
that.
it was an air mattress from the coach that borrowed me because I wanted to do the couch surfing. And and I had some interesting people come into my house. I had a South African girl, um, who from Joburg, who was staying in Durban, and she was going on for a wedding and stuff, and she stayed at mine for like 5 days. Then I had another. Then I had someone else from Canada, marine biology. Then I had two Russians, a couple staying at mine, and then I had the Uruguay guy. Do you remember the Uruguay?
I remember this guy.
The Uruguay guy. He was like, oh, he was vegan.
The guy wanted to cook you. He said he was going to cook you
Yeah.
a gourmet meal after the
And he was
match,
like,
and then you got home and it was a bowl of
a bowl
oats.
of oats. And he was like, oh, I'm vegan, and giving me all this speech around like veganism and stuff, which I have no problem with that. But he was like going on like, oh, yes, vegan, this and that. I'm going to cook a meal for you just to appreciate the fact that I allowed him to stay in my house at that time and for free. And he was like, yeah, I'll cook. And then we played that day. I remember, I don't know, maybe it was.
I remember you said to me, you said, "No, man, this guy's thing, yeah, he sounds good, man. He said he's going to cook me this
I
amazing
got
meal,
excited about
whatever,
it.
whatever." The
Yes.
next day, I got to say,
You know,
how was
it
dinner?
was, we played against Orlando Pirates on the cup. I think it was Telcon Cup or one of those cups, and we lost in extra time. So we played 120 minutes. I remember I was like gone. I was like, okay, whatever food they put me on the plate, I'll eat. Doesn't matter. I turned up and it was oats. I was like, no, man, that's not
Get out of my house.
that's not like food, And he was like, no, but I have honey. I put honey on it. I'm like, no, man, I left. I got like two pizzas because I was like starving. I got two pizzas and I'm like, with lots of meat on the top. And I was like, no, man. But yeah, couch surfing. Yeah. And it was the coach. It
Yeah.
was the
So I
coach
think that, yeah,
Edmonton.
so people would, yeah, if you were living in Durban 3-4 years ago, you could have had the couch of a professional footballer for free. You could have stayed at Emmy's house for free if you
Yes.
were you were in and around Durban.
Yeah. I tried
You
to
must be
do
the only
that.
professional footballer that's lived here.
I tried to do that in
Do
Joburg.
you still do it?
No, I still do it here in New Zealand. Yeah, I still do it here, and I tried to do it in Joburg, but I was living quite far away from the city, so that's not convenient for all the people that are traveling. But yeah, I did in there, and also the scooter. The scooter was beautiful, man. I always had this idea. This I had this idealist idea of riding the scooter in Durban and then suddenly stop at a robot, not a traffic light. I remember that, a robot. Stop at the
Yeah.
robot,
Must be
stop at
around.
the
Yeah.
robot, and then one or two monkeys would jump in and then just sit in the back, like the movie Hangover, and then ride the scooter. That is always been in my dream. Like that's one of my dreams. To turn up to training with a monkey there as well and the scooter. That was just beautiful. Like I really miss South Africa after I left.
Yeah.
I miss the culture, the people, the country. Yeah, I always have it in my mind. So I hope one day I come back.
Yeah. Well, my couch is always available, Emmy.
Yeah, hey, where are you? You done couch surfing with me in Cape Town? Yeah, as
Yeah.
well as in. Do you remember?
Yeah.
As well as in your house? Yeah, in Durban. You done couch surfing with
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
without knowing that when I stayed over at yours. But yeah,
Always welcome,
yeah.
brother.
So let's see. Hopefully,
Amy, thank you so much,
yeah.
bro.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to chat, man. And I still consider you one of my best mates. And yeah, thank you very much for catching up, mate.
No, I
It's,
really appreciate it,
yeah,
Mikey.
it's always a good laugh.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's really fun, and it feels like time has not passed when I talk to you. And that's the beauty of football and living overseas and stuff. That it leaves you with this group of people that you take for life. And as I said before, it also helps you remember and dimension the people that help you along the way. And I always say that you and Liz were two people in South Africa that just made me feel at home from the first day. So, you know, that's something that I always take with me. So, yeah, thank you, Mikey.
Yeah, perfect, bro. We'll catch up soon, eh?
Yeah, already.
And then book your ticket to Cape Town.
Yeah, well, but now as a coach, no as a player. Now,
Okay.
no, no,
Okay.
too old to keep playing football. Bro. So maybe one day I come back and,
Yeah.
and work in South Africa, but maybe in the coaching stuff somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Amy, thank you so much for doing this,
All right,
brother.
Mikey.
We'll
Thank
chat
you.
soon.
Cheers.
Cool, brother. Cheers, man.
Thank you.